What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I should say maybe we should be welcoming back because this is our first episode of Burning the Red Shirt in quite some time. I have two kids now. It's been so long that I have two kids now, and your kids are all grown up. They're entering high school. That's how long it's been. But Andrew, what do you even bet? What have you been betting these days? I think that's always a good kickstart to the show because it could go literally anywhere, and it always leads us down a fun path.
Yeah, shit's getting weird, dude. NFL draft, highly profitable for me. The rare instance where I would say draft betting, the juice was pretty much worth the squeeze. Of course, always going to have regrets. Oh, I should have shoved all my chips in on like something that was like a borderline lock or whatever, reflecting back on all that. But it was a really good NFL draft just from a like net profit perspective. I think my best draft ever. So that was nice. But now we're getting into like a really weird space of because you got the triangulation of all three drafts of MLB, NHL, and NBA within like a 3-week span or something. There's not much up right now, but I've been getting in the weeds on NBA draft, like listening to a bunch of pods, reading articles, taking notes, but there's like not much up in terms of markets. I've done some NHL draft stuff too, which doesn't look great right now, but hope maybe it ends up being okay. And then WNBA futures, dip my toe in there as well. And then lots of college football futures, week 1 stuff, win totals, conference futures. But basically been doing a lot of like futures and markets and draft betting type stuff.
You've done what my friends like to call the number bet on like 4 different things here. Like, the whole like call this number if you have a problem. I think you've hit like literally 3 markets. Like if you would have told me you were betting WNBA draft stuff, I think we would have stopped this episode and I would have immediately.
I was going to, and I should have, because I didn't really put in the time and effort to grind that, but like the 1 or 2 reads that I had would have been decent. But that market does seem beatable. I think it's worth investing time next year.
What is more problematic to explain to your wife that you're betting? NHL draft, MLB draft, NBA draft. Which one are you like the least excited to talk about to your wife?
The NBA draft I'm okay about. Like that. Yeah, that is like fairly mainstream. Like my roots, I put down roots as a kid as like being super into the NBA draft, and basketball cards were always like my first love as a card collector. So I can actually feel like okay talking about that one. NHL draft, like that. All right, now we're getting like really weird. And then the MLB draft, if like that is a really strange place. I think like. But both of those two, the MLB and NHL draft, like I feel like at that point we're entering the waters where so that for me is like those two are like get pretty close to like call the number because like that they feel like they are like true gambling almost. This like I don't grind for both of those to the point that I really should to feel like I have an edge. NHL a little bit, MLB certainly not. NBA though. Like the money's still green, man. You put in the time, you feel like if you feel confident you have an edge, like that is what we should be betting. Like what actually warrants calling the number, in my opinion, is when you are like doing true gambling on sports where the idea is like, oh, I'm betting a 50-50 outcome, but because of the juice, I actually have like a 45% chance of winning this bet or whatever. Like if you're making those kind of bets and you're actually you're doing so with the expectation of like I need to win this bet or like I'm trying to win, like that is all the evidence you need to like actually call a number, in my opinion.
So you're saying that betting Long Island, the Sharks plus 48.5 against Kansas is not call the number worthy, but Jalen Daniels to throw an incompletion on his first pass is called the number worthy.
My buddy was betting some WNBA preseason.
Angel Reese.
No, he had one of those like teams from China plus like 50 points in the preseason.
There's a viral video going around about some guys celebrating betting Angel Reese to miss her first shot. Have you seen that? It's pretty
No,
incredible.
it's great.
All right, so you said you have been betting college football futures or first week stuff for week
Yeah,
zero stuff. So is there
yeah,
one that tickles your fancy the most, that, or maybe the one that's going to get the juices flowing of the Burning the Red Shirt fan club?
yeah. Most of my weeks one stuff, I think, almost all of it, most of it's moved at this point. The progression was most of the books had like the prime time games out for a few months at this point. So like maybe like an offering of like 10 to 15 games, and then the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, a ton of stuff dropped. DraftKings, Caesars, ESPN, most places released full week one spread, a couple more totals, couple money lines, and then yesterday, FanDuel released all week one, including money line totals. So when on that Friday, the full week one came down, I bet, I think 5 or 6 things. I bet Southern Miss plus 15.5 hosting Mississippi State, Washington minus 18.5 against Colorado State, cap for those two. So I think Southern Miss is like getting mushed at this point. Like too many people are on them. Like that shit's not going to work out. I grabbed their conference future 40-1 like the day that they dropped, and like it's basically like Texas State last year. Like it's not going to happen. Too many of these tout losers are on it. Washington minus 18.5, like that one hasn't moved at all. That is just personal from like, have you noticed the past, I think we're going on 3 years now, how bad Colorado State has been to open the year. Every single year they come out totally flat the first couple games. Like I think they've gotten shut out to open like 2 of the past 3 years. Texas killed them. I forget who it was 2 years ago. They lost to an FCS team in one of these games. Like they've come out so poorly in non-con. I feel like that is, I'm generally like very against trends, but I think that this, you can attribute this to coaching staff, which really hasn't like changed.
Yeah, it hasn't changed at all. Who do they open with?
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, so I have Washington minus 18.5, and then I took ECU plus 14 against NC State, rematch of the bowl game. Not at ECU campus. The jungle only refers to the baseball stadium, right? At ECU, I can't say the jungle relative to ECU in general.
I believe it's strictly baseball stadium, but I could be wrong.
That's a shame. And then Toledo plus 12.5. It's like 11.5 now against Kentucky. I think I'm just going to be low on Kentucky generally this year. They seem like they've placed all their eggs in Zach Calzada adjacent baskets. Brought in a bunch of guys from the portal that seem like they're kind of really mid. Like I don't know what a super mid portal class is going to do for you in the SEC in general. But obviously facing a MAC team week one is neither here nor there.
That's the Chip Trayanum revenge game.
Yeah. That's exciting. And then Northwestern plus 7.5 at Tulane. I can see Tulane taking a step back there, and just I figured power conference team laying 7.5 or getting 7.5. So spreads and totals, as you know, are not really my thing, but what else are we going to do at this point in the offseason? Might as well try and get some CLV that we can light on fire once the games actually start playing. Then a couple more things. TCU plus 2.5 on Monday night at UNC. It'll be nice, hopefully coming off a big week one, to have some CLV heading into that Monday night game. One of my favorite games of the year every year, and it should actually be a really fun game this year. So I think it's maybe likely that TCU ends up closing small favor in that game. So figure might as well lock in plus 2.5 now. And then when the totals released yesterday, I grabbed Stanford, Hawaii over 50.5, now 52.5, and FAU Maryland over 52.5, now at 55.5. So
have you not hammered Hawaii plus 2.5?
No, I stared at it for a while and thought to myself, like, when the total comes, I'm just gonna play that. Like, I don't want to.
It's on the island, isn't it?
It is.
You're an Alejado backer.
Yeah,
Stanford has nobody.
I feel more confident in points being scored in the game than figuring how the coin is going to land one way or another on a coin flip.
Who scores on Stanford?
I like Elijah Brown. I think that I don't know what the offense is going to look like, but and who is still there really, but I think that
who is it? Here comes another question. Besides Sam Roush, who is Elijah Brown throwing to?
I don't know, man.
Dude, their receiving group is absolutely insane. I'll pull it up real quick. I think
they lost Cisse to Arkansas, Tiger to BYU.
Yeah.
And Emmett Mosley to Texas, right?
Yeah. So they have
Eloquent Pro.
They have CJ Williams, Bryce Farrell, then two guys I've never heard of that just transferred in. Jordan Anovu and Caden High.
Is CJ Williams the USC Wisconsin kid?
I believe so, yeah.
Could be.
I think you need to hit the whole. I mean, you're such a Hawaii backer, and you're not even going to take him against Stanford on the island week 0. You need to turn your card in, or else they're going to get real upset with you. I was just clicking around here on DraftKings Sportsbook. Arizona State is plus 550 to win the Big 12. Doesn't that feel a little bit? I mean, they're the favorite, but that feels to me like a good line. And for them to win the national championship, it's plus 10,000. That feels like a great bet, doesn't it?
Generally speaking, I don't know if mantra is the right word, but we'll go with it. My mantra with the Big 12 is fade the top half or top 4 teams and back the bottom 4 teams going into a year, because
it never works out like you think it should.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it different? I feel like I'm a big Kenny Dillingham fan, and they return their quarterback and their best receiver that they throw it to 45% of the time. Like, to me, like, what's you're very right. I mean, because if you look at last year, right, wasn't BYU one of the worst teams that was supposed to be, and they became one of the best? Arizona State, yeah, case in point. I don't know. I'm a huge Arizona State backer, and their schedule is absolutely average. I mean, they don't even play Kansas State. They play Iowa State is probably their tough one on the road, at Utah. But otherwise, like, this is a very workable schedule.
Dude, every time I start to think about a Big 12 win total, I pull up the schedule, I look at the non-con, and I start like, okay, like, I think this could be a win, this could be a loss. And then I start looking at the conference and just X out. Because how can you go through the non-conference games and really think, like, come up with like any strong feeling about how a team is going to perform across those 9 games? Like, every game feels close to a coin flip.
You have thrown a lot of money on Hawaii and somebody else, right? Didn't you throw a lot of money on Virginia, or who was the one that you threw on an ACC schedule?
Yeah, so my 3 win totals now that have negative CLV are Virginia. I didn't realize that every single person who bets win totals was going to buy into their portal scam, where I guess that it sounds like they got some big donation and went out and spent a bunch of money in the portal, and now everyone thinks they're going to be good this year. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't get it. Like, the guys they brought in seem kind of like you go position group by position group. It's like, brought in Chandler Morris, my dog, obviously, lost Anthony Calandria. Like, I understand the argument of like why this is like a theoretical upgrade, but like, to me, it seems pretty neutral. Wide receiver, they brought in a couple of guys that too. They lost Malachi Fields. None of the guys they're bringing in are as good as him. Running back room seems like there's an upgrade with that FCS dude. They brought in Jamari Taylor, and like, I like Harrison Willie fine, but like, is that really going to move the needle on the win total? And then just reading reports about like the other units or whatever, it sounds like, yeah, they brought guys in, but they also lost guys. Like, but like, so I bet under 5.5 plus like 130 and change, but like, it's now like basic almost even money at a 6.5. So that was a mistake. Should have let the market develop there. And then I'm on the wrong side of Louisiana Tech. I bet them under 5.5 plus 110, and like you can find plus 130 right now. I don't understand it at all. I think it's largely just like someone has to win games in the CUSA, but like I like a lot of these other teams a lot better. One of my medium hot takes this year is that CUSA football is just going to be so much more enjoyable and improved in October. Like we're gonna want to make our eyes bleed significantly less frequently during Tuesdays and Wednesdays in October. I think it's gonna be a more enjoyable product. I think that a lot of like what was lost, like moved out of the conference was bad, and there's a lot of good stuff moving to the conference that ultimately just going to result in better football.
Is it a direct correlation with Delaware and Missouri State?
Not so much, no. Like New Mexico State, do you remember what it was like watching that team last year?
It was awful. I tried not to watch CUSA at the end of the day.
Brandon Nunez played quarterback multiple games, and I'm pretty sure he like was throwing below 50 yards of passing in those games. But like that team, it sucks that they brought in that loser David Yost to be OC because I like the idea of Tony Sanchez's offense where it's like just running successfully so much of the time, even if it doesn't result in wins. But bringing in Logan Fife is exciting for that offense, I think, because now they'll actually have like a passing component. Like I'm higher on that team this year. I think that I don't know what the results will look like in year one for I think his name's Willie Simmons at FIU, but I think that like that is a positive for the program. I think Louisiana Tech's gonna be a disaster, a dumpster fire this year. It's like it wouldn't surprise me if they lose to a lot of these teams with lower win totals for them in the conference. But Kennesaw, I think, is interesting this year, just in that like they actually have like real quarterbacks in the room this year. So that could be like a more compelling product. I'm not really into Middle Tennessee. Like WKU. Oh, this is more negative CLV for me. As soon as their conference future price came down, I bet it at like plus 300 and change, and now you can get like plus 400 and change easily. It went to 500 for a minute, and I bet that. But like I think they're the best team. I'm down on Liberty. Like I understand every year they have the best recruiting class and they stack. But like, what did they put on the field last year that was compelling in any way, shape, or form that should make me think that there's anything culturally or within that building that should imply a bounce back to 2023 form is in the cards for this year. But overall, I forget how we got here.
I don't remember how we got here either, but I will say, just as a heads up, I don't think anybody calls them Kennesaw. It's Kennesaw State. I think the quick abbreviation of Kennesaw Kennesaw State could get people riled up. Owls could be hooting over that. It's interesting you brought up Western Kentucky love because I'm looking at this line of Sam Houston State plus 7.5. That feels like a good line to take Sam Houston, even if Western Kentucky's great. But it's still like game one, new quarterback. Some things might take longer to gel, but we also have Sam Houston State, obviously new quarterback stuff or new coach with their current quarterback. But it just feels like a good fit for me to think that like out the gates, week 0, they could be good enough to keep it within a touchdown.
Yeah, super interesting week 0 game. That I meant to talk about them too because I wanted to be like higher on Sam Houston this year, but their schedule is just impossibly nightmarish. Their win total is 4.5 juiced over, but they like 0-3, 0-4 is super possible for them. But I hear you. That like it's definitely an interesting week 0 game. Like not bad at all for the week 0 buffet to have that as part of the card. They sucks kind of for someone myself who has been drafting WKU guys a bunch to have them play week 0 and lose a game. Ditto Hawaii, but you know what? I'll take the trade-off for getting some fun teams in week 0, getting some compelling games in week 0.
Speaking of, you brought up the Sam Houston schedule. They play at Western Kentucky, then home against UNLV, at Hawaii, at Texas, at New Mexico State. So they get a ton of road games. They get the random team to play Oregon State in November. So they play at Oregon State towards the end of the year. So yeah, that is not the most fun of schedules if you're looking for wins.
No, it's gonna be tough to go to a bowl for them for sure.
By the way, I keep saying Sam Houston State, and everywhere I look, I see Sam Houston. So I just literally did what you did.
I was gonna give you shit for it,
and the shoe is on the other foot now. So here we are. When did they drop the state? When did this happen?
So they aren't state anymore?
I don't know. On ESPN, it says Sam Houston Bearcats. On DraftKings, it just said Sam Houston. We might need to do a deeper dive into this. Why were you so confident that there was no state?
Yeah, now I'm getting confused. I heard maybe we'll have to check the tape. I heard you call them Sam Houston. In my mind, I'm like, oh, he's forgetting the
I
state.
called him Sam Houston, and then I added state, and then I got very non-confident in it because it keeps only listing the Sam Houston. But anyways, should we talk about what everybody in the CFF community is talking about behind your back?
Uh-oh. Sure.
What's up with your drafting, man? You're just nuking ADPs for certain players. Can you speak to how you're drafting this year?
Just snatching and grabbing the guys I like. I don't know. I don't care about your ADPs or whatever, you know? I don't know. I've always been a proponent of the idea that ADP is generally worthless and not efficient when it comes to CFF. I've slimmed down my my Fantrax best ball portfolio significantly year to year, to the point now where I think all I've got so far is just our champions draft. So that is pretty much all I have to go off of from a data perspective, and I'm not aggregating data. So it's basically just recall of what went on in previous drafts combined with, so I listened to Fantasy Points Pod, catch some Chasing the Natty. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't have much to work with. So it's basically just that plus whatever I'm feeling that day.
I only look at the previous Champion Series drafts because it's the same guys. I figure, and I certainly have jumped ADPs of players like Wayman Jordan for USC. I did that once, and I don't think it was a Champ Series draft, but it was one that similar names were in it.
Yeah,
my favorite addition to your I want to call it reaching because it's just boost in ADP is Miles Coleman from North Texas.
It's fun, right?
You took him 607. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't let Matt Mox keep getting him early double digits, you know? It seems like it feels fairly set in stone that he's going to crush in that North Texas offense. And correct me if I'm wrong, that you can make a pretty simple theory that if Mestemaker wins the job, you've got a high school connection, even though he didn't play in high school. Mestemaker, I think they paired up. They're from the same high school, so
they're teammates. But he was really just a safety, and except for one. Yeah, everybody knows the story, at least that listens to it.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like he's the receiver one, and you read. I assume you've read the article or the stuff about how they want to be the number one offense in the country. There's some good quotes in there of people talking about Coleman too, and just kind of what he's talking him up in terms of the spring and just that how he's supposed to be. So I don't know. It's not that deep, but the idea of having the number one
receiver on the number one offense in the country.
Yeah, it could be worse.
It could definitely be worse. I will say I do subscribe to your theory of who cares about ADP. I think this year more than ever, because I hate so many rounds. Between the rounds of 5 and 9, unless you're drafting a quarterback, I just hate it. Mm-hmm. Or if you're drafting maybe one of the top tight ends or something, and ours is tight end premium, so it definitely makes sense. But I just hate the options at running back or receiver between rounds 5 and 9. It's awful. So I took Greg DeRosier, Adam Randall, and Kyson Brown in 6, 7, 8, but I don't think any of their ADPs warrant 6, 7, 8. Like I feel like those would all be considered reaches compared to past drafts. But it's like, oh, should I just go take Yassine Willis or Cedric Baxter or James Peoples instead, and like instead of just get the guy that I want in the round that I want? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Three of my dogs. I've drafted all of them recently.
Yeah, and this one you did take Willis and Baxter, and I would say I get it for both Willis. I get it for Willis.
Yeah,
it's like who else could they possibly give the ball to? Like you can argue, well, we don't know what the offense is. Is he even that great? Is like the usage going to be heavy? But like literally, who are they going to give the football to if it's not him? You know. So I can understand why people take him. Cedric Baxter is sketchy just because of the injury stuff. Is there any concern there with the injury stuff, or are you thinking I'm taking him as my 5th running back? Like I'll take the upside there.
That one, but it feels like it's remaining sketchier than I would like it to. I've drafted him like 2 or 3 times, but I don't know. Nothing really sounds that positive right now, so maybe I'll pump the brakes a little bit there. By the way, Syracuse running backs made me think. Can you name all might be the wrong word, but how many Jawan Price schools can you name?
None besides Syracuse. Was he North Texas?
Yeah, he blew out his knee last year and before games even started. But where was he before North Tex? Where was he before Q's, and where is he now?
I couldn't tell you where Jawan Price is.
New Mexico State.
I had that in my head for some reason, but it would have been purely out of a hat.
And then he showed up on campus at within the last 2 weeks at his new spot.
Hit me.
UMass.
Okay. Well, whenever
pretty random for some.
He hits all the corners of the United States there.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Oh, I should say this. Let's reverse it. Have you noticed what I've been doing in these drafts recently?
You did something where
I'm literally just
like 8 receivers at 10 to draft recently.
Yeah, I basically have said screw receiver, and I'm only taking running backs at the top. Like, so I took 8 of my first 16 picks were running backs. I didn't like it as much this time as the previous draft. Like, I felt like the guys I took 2 drafts ago just felt better. My idea being that like this running back's the more, the least risky selection. So, and you can start in our drafts, you can start like 5 or 6 running backs each week. So in my head, I'm thinking, let's just hammer early running backs. And then I just need to find 3 receivers out of 10, actually 10 out of 11, because I've been drafting 11 receivers while doing this. Do you hate that?
For one of the drafts recently, I bumped up. I can't remember which way I went. If I bumped up and took a ton of running backs or a ton of receivers, I feel like you can make an argument either way, and it sounds good. Because ton of receivers, it's like, oh, dude, it's PPR. Like, why wouldn't I take a ton of receivers? We only need to start like 3 running backs, and then I could just start receivers at all the other spots.
Yeah, but the hit rate on receivers is brutal.
Maybe I'll get them all right.
Well, you could, but your percentage-wise, it's going to be less.
Yeah, I get it.
So you took Chandler Morris.
Yeah.
You took 7 quarterbacks, one of them being Chandler Morris.
How many do you take usually?
6.
Yeah.
I also take 2 or 3 of them like decently high. So I'm hoping that really I take like a star in the top 5 or 6 rounds, and then I'm just trying to find something for the second spot the rest of the way.
I waited until like round 12 to take a QB, so I was like, I'll take a 7th.
You did, yeah. You took Chandler Morris in the final round. Did you know why he transferred to Virginia? Like, did you just think that was completely random like I did?
No, he's boys with Tony Elliott since like
his dad is like a coaching. Did you watch the Cover 3 for Virginia?
I've listened to all the summer schools at this point.
Yeah, so they did the summer school, and I listened to it, and they brought it up, and I was like, oh, I guess it all makes sense then. Did you like how they described Chandler Morris as a passer?
I must have missed that.
He was like, the woman was like, yeah, he's a more advanced Calandria with better ball security. Yeah,
an insane, like, so a couple things. So she's awesome as a reporter. Like in the past, I've tweeted at Bud asking him for like a Virginia injury update in one of his injury threads, and he just tagged her, and she gave like a perfect update. It was sick, and her coverage is really good in general of UVA. But like unsurprisingly, I guess she's joining in painting the like the rosy picture of UVA this year, so we're not on the same page. But that feels kind of ridiculous to talk about Chandler in that context, considering like, dude, we've all seen kind of him lose games by himself every year that he started. Like, I don't know how you can paint him as like a picture of consistency and floor, but I think that just in terms of taking him in the last round of this draft, it's not like first of all, always happy to go back to my roots and draft Chandler Morris for the 5th year in a row. But the offense, like Des Catchings as OC, is like not overly exciting at all. But if you're looking for like a quarterback with rushing upside, like who else are you taking in the back half of a draft that also brings any semblance of like arm talent? Like I think especially in best ball, like he's super useful as a late pick to add to a quarterback room.
I kind of like him as a final round pick. Why not? I mean, Calandria was like had moments of being good, and I think Morris is potentially better. I don't know if I want to go out on a limb and say he's definitely better, but like there's definitely routes to him being a very productive quarterback. He can run a little bit. You know, Calandria had multiple games where he was very useful, and that team was just not very good, period. They're going to play from behind. The defense probably isn't going to be all that good. The schedule is going to be soft because it's the ACC. Like, I can see a route to why it makes sense to take him. I see it a little bit more than taking Jaden Denegal from San Diego State.
My dog.
You're the first person to take Jaden Denegal. So you can, by the way, you can say, like, plant your flag on the fact that you
yeah. Who do you think? Do you think I get jumped and someone takes him in round 10 next time?
Absolutely not.
Sean Lewis, QB?
I think if someone was on Jaden Denegal, they would have been on him already. Like, it's not like people have been talking about, specifically Fantasy Points podcast has done a great job of highlighting San Diego State receivers and like why it's great to have a Sean Lewis outside receiver.
Yeah.
But like, wouldn't we have talked about the quarterback already? So what makes you know for a fact he's going to start? You have sources on the ground that say he's going to start?
No source in the sense of like no open line of communication with a San Diego State affiliated person, but have you not seen the article that kind of breaks down their depth chart?
I think I missed that one. Yeah.
It was well hidden. I forget how I stumbled on it, but I don't know what your tricks of the trade are, but generally speaking, I always have a Google News window open that like searches for depth chart, sorts by recent last week, refresh every couple of days and see what's good. This didn't meet that criteria, I don't think, because I don't know, the title is misleading. But then you click into the article, I forget what the title was or whatever, but all of a sudden he's just breaking down depth chart. It's like super clear from the summary. It's like it's Denegal. Like this is done. How weird is this throwing motion?
It's like extremely long.
So
if I remember correctly, it's like very long. It's like he's playing right field.
Gunnar Stockton, like
he is playing right field, trying to throw a guy out at home.
Have you seen Gunnar throw?
I have. I tried to block those moments out of my head, but
yeah, that Gunnar called back to Tim Tebow with what his throwing motion like. So maybe they're all kind of similar in that regard.
There's probably some similarities there. Yeah. So
can he scoot?
Can he scoot? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's anything special in terms of a runner. But you never know. I mean, he's been in college for like 4 years and has barely played, if any. So it's hard to say for sure. You also took Brad Jackson. I don't think I've seen Brad Jackson taken. Clint took him. Clint took him last draft. So did you just copycat Clint? I had this draft strategy early in the season to just take people that Clint took the draft before, and I have veered away from it. So I fear that my potential of finishing in the top 3 is toast. But is that why you took him?
Yeah, 100% a theft from Clint. Have you like? I think it's notable and interesting how late every Texas State player goes. You jumped me for Lincoln Parry.
I did, yeah. He fit that running back mold, and I was like, "Ooh, like this feels like a good one." And I'll give props to Jared in Slack. Jared had mentioned how I think it was something to the effect of like, I don't know like who to give it to, but Pears seems like the best bet. He's still there, and like if it is him, his projections would be really, really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just figured between Jared liking him potentially, and then you obviously taking him, I was like, I could do worse.
Yeah, he goes late. Jackson obviously goes late, but Giovanni McCoy's gone. It sounds like Yarnell and the Auburn kid are not in the lead. Sounds like Jackson is like, I forget where I read this and like what it exactly sounded like, but it sounds like Jackson it's spring like with a lead, even if it's late. If he gets the job, like that is potentially ridiculous, right? We know he can run. I don't know what he could do with his arm, but I want the QB1 in that offense.
And then, I mean, he made TJ Finley. The coach made it TJ Finley valuable, so
yeah,
I would imagine that he would do just fine, no matter how he could throw.
Right, and it would be very interesting to see. Like we know Kinney can manufacture a slick passing game, and now he's got it. What does it look like if he has a dude who's an absolute weapon on the ground? Like McLeod, good runner, but I think it's this is like another level of.
They didn't let him run like he's mobile, but he's not a runner. Like Brad Jackson is a runner. He's not mobile. Yeah. He had 3 games. He played in 3 games last year. He had a touchdown in each. He was great rushing the football. Like he threw for 100 yards, 16 yards, and 0 yards, and he totaled like 50 fantasy points. Like I don't know. That feels like a pretty decent start to what we could see next year or this upcoming season.
Yeah, and then our boy Bo Sparks and Chris Don both go super late. Wide receiver is always kind of weird there. Maybe perhaps in hindsight, Joey Hobart was not a first-round pick.
I still think he should have been, but here we are.
Yeah, but
it's better than Evan Stewart.
We
had that correct.
Yeah, but what's it called? Those guys around round 20, like I feel pretty confident the idea that those two are going to be in the top 2, 3, 4 in targets this year. Like that, being able to get all the pieces of that offense that late feels like a really strong element to bake into a strategy.
That to me feels like a good late bet. Like if you're gonna, this is one of those guys that you take a shot on in receiver late because it's like the hit rate's low already. So why not give me an upside that's pretty awesome? And he's got to be playing the slot. And if Brad Jackson's not a good passer, you would think that they would throw easy stuff, which is typically slot-ish. I don't know. And wasn't Joey Hobart slot? And that's kind of like the deal is you wanted slot with. So I don't mind it. It's kind of weird. Like who else could he throw? Like who are the other receivers there?
Yeah, I would think there's some unknown in terms of, well, there's lots of unknown, but just schematically, the Mac Leflich went to Texas Tech. Who did they make OC this year? I think it's an interesting name. I can't remember who it is though.
I'll take a look. It's no, this is AI overview is giving me an old.
Yeah.
Landon Kopel.
Okay, so no, I'm lying.
Assistant receiver coach to offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Perhaps there's some unknown just in terms of like who is going to get all the targets and stuff like that, and like how does the offense look differently from last year. But I don't know. Kenny's the coach. Like we're not going to suddenly be playing defense.
So I think you'll be very interested in Landon Kopel. Do you know his background?
Was he at Utah Tech?
Utah Tech. Forgot Utah Tech. No, I don't think so. He had a bunch of years at D2 at Southern Arkansas, but most specifically, he went to Hawaii 2020, 2021.
Kenny
And
was there.
then, most importantly, he followed Kenny to Incarnate Word in
Okay.
2022. And then, yeah, you got hired to Texas State. So he's kind of in that same mold. You don't have to fear any sort of change. Not
Yeah.
that Kenny would ever let somebody change it, but
Love
it's
it.
good background. It's good background. Speaking of having absolutely no idea what to expect, how does one do a North Carolina projection right now? Like, it's a brand new coaching staff. It's a staff. Does anybody on the staff have college experience like in the last couple of years? Isn't it all like a bunch of former NFL guys?
It sounds right to me.
So, like, how do you project? How do you project them offensively?
I don't know, dude. I think I took Gauss recently just because I wanted another running back that I thought the reasonable outcome is he gets a bunch of touches in his offense, probably starts the year as RB1, and we could see where things go. Like, I am down on UNC this year. Would like to see them largely fail. But I don't know. I don't know how things are going to go.
You
My
know who the
assumption
offensive coordinator is?
is it Freddie Kitchens.
It's Freddie Kitchens. I did
Yeah.
not know Freddie Kitchens looked like Freddie Kitchens. He was a run game coordinator and tight end coach the last couple seasons. So
Really?
I like the Gauss pick, by the way. I think especially at like the 17th round, like what are you really drafting there?
Right.
He does feel like the best option, even though there's some other random options behind him that are mildly to unimpressive. So I don't know if you're drafting UNC, I feel like that's probably the most comfortable spot is a running back to play well, considering what they've done in the past.
Yeah. Does Gio even get drafted anymore?
I think he gets drafted mid to late.
True.
It's an unfortunate set of circumstances that happened there.
Yeah. At least
He got drafted 19th round, right after I took CJ Carr. How do you feel about that, CJ Carr?
Listening to Froton talk him up on fantasy points, kind of like the argument's easy enough to craft. The idea of backing a Denbrock quarterback doesn't seem like a bad idea.
Right.
I don't really have strong opinions beyond that. It'll be interesting to see. Where do you think he goes on in underdog drafts?
Probably in the teens. I can't imagine. I mean, first year starter with no mobile ability. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine his ADP is that high.
Yeah.
Even the Notre Dame name, like I feel like there's just a ton of other options that would be picked before him. Like, is he coming into the season with as much like love and gusto as like some of these 8 to 12 rounders last year, like Swordsby, Hoover, and some of them? Like, I don't know. It feels like those guys had more reason to be drafted than CJ Carr.
You're probably right. Yeah.
I liked it. I thought Froton made a great case for it. Like you said, you could do a lot worse than backing a quarterback for Denbrock. I stacked it with Malachi Fields, thinking, why not? Notre Dame's had a bunch of great X receivers, right? So let's do it.
I have this weird thing going on internally right now where I'm kind of, I don't know if rooting for Notre Dame is the right word, but I find myself feeling fondly about them because in December and January, I spent so much time grinding news about them,
Jeremiah
listening to all the pods that this team was like part of my life for 2 months. And like it largely paid off. They made me a bunch of money down the stretch. So I don't know. Maybe they could creep into like the realm of like a tertiary fourth level team for me, where like I used to hate them. Now that's no longer the case. I think they've kind of moved up to the other side of the framework of how I kind of structure how I feel about teams.
That's the power of CFF and sports betting, because I don't have as much hatred for Ohio State and Virginia as I used to, because I just end up having a guy on my team or just betting over on somebody, and then it's all right, yeah, I'm in. I just it changes over time. Maybe that's just maturity, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think everybody naturally hates Notre Dame to begin, unless you're a Notre Dame fan. It's you probably
not in the Northeast, dude. It's like you grow up in Jersey. If you care about college football, you're either Rutgers, Penn State, or Notre Dame for the most part. Oh, some Ohio State too, but I would say it's mainly those first three.
I think it's probably then just because I'm in the South, and
yeah,
I think everybody's always grown up to hate them for not being in a conference and stuff like that.
Totally.
Let's see here. Any other random players or thoughts on what's going on these days? You took the first tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, so you're buying into the hype.
I was planning on being out, or just letting others deal with it, but it's getting really hard too. It just seems like the fear drafting him, I think, is that they just prioritize getting him the ball in like really gadgety ways that don't result in a high amount of fantasy points. Like, oh, let's get him 3 carries here, a screen here, maybe on a key third down, we look to him to pick up a first down, gets 8 touches a game, but it results in 8 points. The more that time goes on, the more you read, it feels like that's probably not the case. Like, he's probably looking at being more like first, second read for the quarterback in the offense. I'm skeptical, generally speaking, of Oregon this year. Bet the under on their win total, 10.5. But I don't know if that. I don't think that maybe that's more reason to kind of be on him, because I'm skeptical of a bunch of the pieces in the offense. Like, Decorian Moore seems cool, sure. Evan Stewart, who knows how that's gonna play out. Dante Moore, I'm skeptical on. Is it? I feel like I shouldn't say this out loud because you don't want this to be called back to, but is it that ridiculous to think that he could just be DJU?
Yeah. I mean, except DJU probably started better than Dante Moore, right? What have we seen from Dante Moore? Literally him just not be good. So
some cool throws in that Coastal game when he came in for Garbers in the middle of the night. That probably seemed cooler because I was 10 drinks deep. But then since then, it's you're right. Yeah, it's been pretty poor.
And you can't even argue that. Well, Oregon made Bo Nix really good. Bo Nix had many awful games, but he also had a bunch of good games, a bunch of where you could see it, right? We have literally seen nothing from Dante Moore. So,
yeah. But I don't know. Where are you on? Are you in on Sadiq and Sowers if you have to pay up for them?
Yeah, I think so. I paid up for Stowers at 310, and a little bit of was I just don't like anybody else.
So that is
these options.
That's the other part of it, right? It's am I going to force a running back that I know there's I can say there's 3 different ways this guy fails, or do I take a tight end that everything kind of points to this guy is going to be awesome and give me put me in an advantageous position relative to the field?
Tell me the thing with Stowers for me is give me a route of which Stowers is not good this year.
He gets hurt or Pavia gets hurt.
That's it. And if that's the only way that to me he has a bad season, then I will say I'm a little cautious because he apparently has some off-season stuff going on with an injury.
Yeah.
But it feels like everybody's been dealing with an off-season injury, right? The guy was picked right after him, Denzel Boston, didn't practice a bunch, right?
Yep.
I don't know. So I don't know if it's an injury only type of thing, I'm hesitant to just not draft him because of it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you one last thing. Oh, give me a first or second rounder that you're just never going to take.
Oh, man.
I can start if you need a second to think about it.
Yeah, you can start. I got to pull up.
So I don't think there's a world where I'll ever draft Ryan Williams.
Really?
If I'm taking Ryan Williams, I would rather have I would rather have one of the running backs at the very end of the first round. Like I'd rather have Jeremiah Love, or like I took Jordan Tyson at the 10th pick. Like I'm not saying I'd take Jaheim White, but I probably would consider Easton Messer pretty hard. I would take Claiborne over him. I'd take, Donaldson probably from Fresno State. To me, Ryan Williams, he was definitely impacted by Milroe's inability to be good in the SEC, except for the Georgia game. But like, I don't know, Ty Simpson isn't all that special. And I think I'd rather just hit a running back that feels safer.
It's crazy. Jeremiah Smith went at 1-8 this time. I guess he would be my answer if he goes in like the first 5 picks, but at 1-8, it's like more interesting. Jeremiah Love in the first round, like I don't know, that's tough. Like they're gonna split carries a bunch, right? They know what they're playing for. The whole thing of like it's really like an 18-game season or whatever. Like, so what am I? Like, how does he, outside of blowing up in a playoff games where he turns 10 to 15 touches into and breaks off like 3 huge runs? It's very extremely speculative in that regard.
I can understand that to an extent, and that's like a further conversation for another day with like the whole how do teams like Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State types use players, knowing that the season's probably 15 games now. But like if you see Notre Dame's schedule, it's actually, I wouldn't say significantly harder than last year's, but it's definitely harder than last year's. They play at Miami, they play A&M.
Yeah.
They play at Arkansas, they play Boise, NC State, USC, they play at Pitt, they play Syracuse, and then so I think like sure, like at Stanford, that's not a good game. Purdue, at Arkansas, you could argue. I don't think Arkansas is all that great, but like maybe on the road. Like I think this year, I don't know if there's going to be as much of a split with the carries in some of these games because the schedule is more difficult. And I don't even have any Jeremiah Love, by the way, but like I'd be open to drafting him. Is what I'm saying.
Fair.
So is Jeremiah Love your answer then?
Feels like too much too a hill that I probably that I shouldn't be willing to die on. So no, it's not my answer. I'll say Anthony Hankerson.
So they made a pretty decent argument on Fantasy Points podcast about Hankerson. Are you just in agreement on that?
I haven't listened yet. I saw Mox commented agreement on it in response to a tweet pumping up the episode. I would expect, like, I don't think the idea, like, I would assume that the argument in his favor is like the idea that what his workload looked like post Jam Griffin getting injured is what is on the table for this year, which I would argue against. I think that was like out of necessity more than what they are looking to do in terms of getting running back touches to specific parties. And that's enough for me. Like in order to return that value, that level, that the value on where he goes, you probably need that to be able to copy and paste that workload. And I don't buy into that. So
when did Jam Griffin get hurt?
I think it was like week 5.
He didn't. I don't know. It's hard to say. His usage got worse after Jam Griffin got hurt.
If
it's week 5 or week 6, I mean, he went from 24, 16, 15, 20, and 26. Those are his first 5 games. Then he had big games, right? 28, 17, 16, 36, 23, 11. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. The only caution I have on that is I know people like this Salahaddin Allah guy, but like, I don't know. Like, when Hankerson just did what he did, it's kind of hard to just lean into a random freshman like Allah. I guess he's a sophomore now, but still. Hankerson's really good in the passing game too, which I find very intriguing.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
27 receptions. That's pretty solid.
Not bad.
Hankerson is definitely a guy that I won't draft much of, especially because Bacon Fuel is taking him so dang high that he's never going to make it to him anyways. So, any final thoughts or closing arguments, Andrew?
So we're past Memorial Day, right? Schedules are out. What's our next big milestone progression through the CFB offseason?
Underdog.
You would hope and think. Any updates you can share as a trusted rumor monger? No,
I got nothing. I legitimately have nothing.
Lame.
I need to go back and ask because it's after Memorial. Ethan Sowers promised we would be drafting underdog teams by now. But
catch-22 is the wrong word, but the problem is we want and need it to get going. But if they do it now, the player pool, I presume, will be incomplete in a material way. Like guys who we want to draft won't be included.
Well, that's what they've been waiting for, is like rosters to be uploaded, because they have to pull from a service that pulls from everybody's roster pages. That's like what I've heard is that's the hang up, is they want to wait till all these rosters are done and they don't want to then have to worry.
What does that look like though? Like, are we talking like July, August?
It can't be. I mean, they were mid-July last year, and the idea is that the pools are bigger. You can't do that in mid-July. You'd have to do that July 1 at the latest, I would feel.
What do you mean the pools are bigger?
Like the bigger payouts, right? Like more entries, more.
Yeah, but they're at the
payouts.
So they're at the mercy of some data provider. I don't know if that maps back to it, correlates to the teams, the schools updating their rosters, or if it's distinct from that.
The service provider they are using pulls from team roster pages, essentially.
Which is like I don't understand how because some of these schools I feel like don't update by mid-July. I could be wrong about that.
Well, that's why there's always like Fantrax does it too, right? Like that's the whole issue of like, well, he's listed as this on the roster, but that's like where that stems from, is that's where they're beholden to the provider they use.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't know, if they just went off of rosters right now, we'd be missing so many guys.
Exactly. And just some pages aren't updated, or like for the year or period, right? Like some of these guys just like vanish and then they come back, or vice versa,
Yeah.
So hopefully soon. Do you want to throw a date on it?
If unfortunately, like it probably has to be like mid-July again, you would think, right?
It can't be mid-July. If it's mid-July, I'll be very surprised.
So are you assuming then that last year rosters were in a good place earlier and they didn't launch until mid-July because it was their first year rolling out the product and they were just kind of getting everything set up, but like the rosters, the data feeds, the data sources were in a good place roster wise?
I think they just said, you know what, we want to do it. When can we reasonably release college football drafts, and let's just do it then. Like,
so then when do you expect that rosters will actually be reflective of what we need them to be? Because that's like that is like presumably the holdup.
I don't have any idea when. You would think that midsummer these would be completed, right? I think technically some of these colleges are still in session, right? So like you could see why some of this stuff isn't updated. Not that there's a tie. It's not like people that work for the school actually are the ones like teaching classes are the ones that are updating the roster pages. But I would imagine midsummer, mid-June, end of June would be things. But I'm not a roster page guy like some of you guys are.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you think is the next step in the college football season? Is there something that you were thinking?
I was just trying to lead you into an underdog conversation.
You did a good job. It's been a couple of weeks, but you're not rusty. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. Episode 101 and episode 100 is a secret mystery episode, but hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back soon, and happy drafting.